hello, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Speaking Plain English. I am your host, Roberta, and we have quite an interesting topic that we're going to discuss today. Today, we are going to discuss moving intentionally. Sounds kind of weird? You'll get what I mean in a minute. So today, I have a returning guest. We're going to just call him Cory because he's not Gypsy today. He's not in character today. Cory, how are you?
I'm okay. Good to see you.
Awesome. So we're going to just jump into it.
Okay.
So first of all, explain to me what you feel moving intentionally means.
Well, intent is with purpose, so whatever it is that you're doing, whatever that thing is, it has to have purpose. It has to, that's essentially it. It has to be, genuine, so to speak.
I would agree. I would definitely agree. And let me think this. Do you think that it's possible to do everything intentionally?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with, being leisurely at times, but even with that, it's like, what are you meaning to do, But I would say with everything that should be purpose. Not to sound like you should take yourself too seriously all the time, but yeah, it should be.
I'm gonna say it this way. When it comes to being intentional about things, myself personally, I feel like you said, it's okay to be leisurely in some instances, but for the most part, it's wise to plan pretty much, because if you're doing things intentionally, then you're planning ahead. It's kind of like a chess game.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to always try to figure out what the next move is. And the reason I find that to be something that's pretty important is because you never know what it is that you're going to, face throughout the day, specifically when it comes to like being in the spotlight, especially if a person is of a high caliber, or if they have some type of status, or just regular, normal, everyday people. Mm-hmm. If people can take things in such the wrong way, and it's unfortunate that we have to think like that. You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
It's unfortunate that we have to always think for other people and keep in mind what if a certain situation happened, or what if somebody sees something. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna give you an example. So my mom was not my mom. I'm sorry. My dad gave an example at church one day. My father's a pastor. And one thing that he said was, it's very important for us to be able to, maintain our stand. And the slightest thing can be innocent in what's actually happening, but it'll look off to somebody else. For example, he used my mother as an example. Say somebody was to see her get into a car with a man, mm-hmm. or something like that. They're the first ones to run their mouth, mm-hmm. and be like, "Oh my God, I saw your wife with some man." Come to find out it's a cousin,
right,
or a brother, or a friend, or something like that. So, what are your thoughts on things like that?
Well, sometimes certain things are going to be out of your control, and to be honest with you, you can't worry about, even though some people tend to, like you said, they're worried about how certain things might look. It doesn't even necessarily have to be that situation. It could be anything else, but things like that, or just whatever, if it's out of your control, it's out of your control. Whatever's within your control, that's it.
Okay. Listen. So one thing I wanted to ask you, and it's funny that I wanted to ask you this because you're conversing with you several times before. One thing that I noticed is that you have this way of taking what a person says, and you are able to listen to everything and answer every specific detail. How in the world you do that? Seriously.
It's not necessarily it shouldn't be it's too hard for anybody to do. Basically, if somebody's coming to you with something, whatever the situation could be, you're supposed to listen. And some people, sometimes they're not really even there. They're hearing the words, but they're not really hearing what the person is saying sometimes, and then they'll just go off and just say whatever. But you're supposed to just sit there
and pay attention to what's being said. And on top of that, not just pay attention to what's being said, but listen to, not necessarily respond, to like to wait to get your point of view across,
Right.
but to actually address what it is that they're saying. And that's a skill, to be honest.
I mean, it might be something, because it might be something that even if you think you already have the person figured out, there could be something that you're missing. I kind of liken that to sometimes, like when I go to the doctor, there might be something, I might seem paranoid or something. I might bring something up, like I have a particular concern, and sometimes I find that with certain doctors, they tend to, I guess because they've been through all the years of, training, that they just automatically assume what someone's going to say. And it's like, you don't necessarily know. And that's how a lot of, people get diagnosed or don't get diagnosed with certain things, just listen to everything that has to be said, because you might miss something very key.
And that's important. And it also helps people to feel like they're understood.
Yes.
And that goes for everything. That goes for, like you said, at the doctor's office, in the professional arena, relationships, I mean, parenting. And that's another point that a lot of us don't even realize when it comes to parenting. I mean, I understand that we are supposed to raise our kids and they're supposed to pretty much listen to what we're saying.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they're humans.
Yeah.
And it's important for us to be able to pay attention to what it is that they have to say, because a lot of times that's how a lot of children end up in situations where they don't know what to do. They don't want to come to their parents.
Yes.
They don't want to, they hide things
Yes.
because they feel like, oh, if I say something, or they're not, first of all, I'm not allowed to say anything. And I'm going back to, like, I do this, I'm going to probably end up doing this in every episode, going back to childhood. And even, I've heard this a lot of other people that they say children are made to be seen and not heard.
Right.
And growing up, a lot of us would hear, would have our own questions about things. And the answer was, because I said so, or why are you asking me why? Or if we even got the chance to ask the word why.
Right.
Because when growing up and even seeing other people, like either other kids, we weren't allowed to really ask why. And it's not something that I like to, because we have kids have their own opinions too. Kids, they want to know things. They're sponges. And so it's important to be able to use those moments as teachable, with them, because they're going to be inquisitive. And in order for them to learn, they're going to have to ask questions. So if they're not allowed to ask why, then how do we expect them to learn?
Of course. Absolutely.
Okay. So let me ask you this. So we're going to dive into, like, taking the time to, to just think about the possibility, kind of a little bit of something that we spoke about earlier, of people misinterpreting what it is that they're seeing. How does, like, everyday movement, like, or deciding what you're going to do before you, give me a rundown of what you think, like, your day would be, in order, as far as, like, okay, this is what I'm going to do for this day, so this, and this is what needs to be done. So I guess, like, planning your day. So how does that work for you?
So give an example of, like, what my day would be like,
or just how you would prep.
How would I prep for my day? Well, you just make sure things are in order. I like to, as I call it, go into focus mode with whatever it is, but you just, make sure things are in order so you can move efficiently and with purpose. And when you have that energy behind it, things get done, or at least for the most part. Whatever's within your control, because you can plan all you want, move with as much intent as you want. Again, if it's out of your control, there's nothing you can do.
And there's nothing you can do about it. And I end up finding out that whenever that happens, it's always meant. There's always something that.
Of course.
It was. I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe that things happen by chance. But I believe that God plans every step that we make, even when we have our own plans and when we have our own agendas and things like that. As we go throughout the day, if we have to deviate from that for a little bit, it's always for something. For example, I know that there have been times when where I'm planning to go somewhere and I'll take the same route, whatever. But for whatever reason, I just couldn't get it together that day. I'll end up, like, flustered and I can't get anything right. Something breaks. I drop my phone in the toilet and end up having to, whatever.
Yes, yeah,
Something gets wet.
Totally.
Or something falls on your clothes. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever causes a delay. And then next thing I know, I get behind the wheel. It's traffic.
Yep.
Just whatever situation ended up occurring. And then I'll hear, go the other way. Go another way. Go this route. Don't go this way today. Don't go there today. Matter of fact, why don't you call in sick today?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard so many stories about, like with 9/11, as a matter of fact, when that happened, how I've even had family members who were supposed to have been in one or more of those buildings.
All right.
Or who were on their way there, but something ended up happening for them to get there late.
Mm-hmm.
And had they have had the opportunity, had they have, gone about their day routinely, they would have ended up being in there as well when everything happened. So my point of all of that is to, even when you, just like you said, even when you do plan everything the way that you're supposed, or we feel like we're supposed to, because it's always great to have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
It's always good to have a vision. So that you know exactly where you're going. But if you don't, then, if you do all of that and then stuff still ends up happening, there's definitely a reason for it.
Of course.
Awesome.
Actually, do you mind if I provide a personal example of something similar?
Go for it.
To that. I was on my way to the city, in New York. I was on my way to Manhattan to go, I believe it was to go see the person who works on my guitars. His name is Richie Baxt. Big shout out to Richie Baxt.
Yes.
And I usually I live in Jamaica, Queens, and sometimes I'll take the Long Island Railroad, sometimes I'll take the bus. And this particular day, I decided not to take the bus. I would even say the cross streets. It was on Guy Brewer and Farmers Boulevard. So I was like, you know what, I'll go take the Long Island Railroad, which is only a couple blocks away from my house. And I'm on my way to the Long Island Railroad, and I just see a bunch of cop cars just whizzing by me. Like, they're responding to an emergency, obviously. And there's like, so 1, 2, 3, 4, like just a bunch of cars whizzing right by me. And then I come to find out that particular corner, that bus stop that I would have been at, there was a shooting. It was on the news.
Wow.
There was a shooting. And this guy got killed. It had something to do with some domestic dispute with his wife, but the cops came and, shot up the place, So it's like, at those kind of instances, I also consider, like, as I like to say, it's not odd but God.
I love that.
As you said, nothing is a coincidence,
Nothing.
So, yeah.
Wow. And it's necessary to listen to those moments, because what we can end up doing is causing our own harm and our own demise when we kind of like hear that voice be like, no, we're going this way, we're doing something else. And then it's like, I'm going to. And then later on, we realize, exactly the reason why we were supposed to go the other way. So that also goes with, as far as staying intentional, listening, being sure that, being able to understand when it's kind of time to deviate a little bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of time to do something a little different.
Absolutely.
And being mundane and doing everything just as is all the time it's no fun.
Yeah, right.
It's no fun at the end of the day. So let me ask you, what do you think, just, as a discussion, how do you think that being intentional about everything can keep people out of like problematic situations?
Well, like I said, things like that, I forget the exact saying I was going to refer to, but an idle hand.
An idle mind?
Idle mind. It might have been something akin to that. And like, I'm not even trying to necessarily quote that, but it just, again, has to do with just, moving with purpose. Like, you see a lot of cats sometimes in the corner not doing anything. Not a thing, because they don't have any purpose, or they feel like they don't have any purpose. So they move in a way, and if they do move with intent with anything, normally it's not for anything positive, but if you, set a plan and you just go about it the best way you can, like a lot of people throughout the years, they've seen me and in the neighborhood, they would go, every time I see you, you always have your guitar and you always like you're going somewhere. Even if I don't have my instrument with me, they see how I move, and like you're always, like you're going somewhere, you're doing something, so usually, and again, that just goes to, if anything just happened to happen, it's out of your control, but more often than not, when you stay in that mode, you're fine.
I would agree. I would definitely agree. I'm going to tell you something that's real interesting that came to mind while you were talking. So as a as your profession, a musician, right? Y'all have a reputation. Y'all have a reputation, and it's interesting to be able to. For those who don't know, no, I'm not. Yeah, if you know, you know what the reputation is. What I like to what I well, I can't say what I like to see, but what I like to, yeah, I guess I'll say it like that. What I like to stress to people, especially in your profession, is how important it is to like make sure that you're not being seen in a certain light. You make sure that you're because I'm trying to say it without saying it. So musicians are, for those who don't know, they have a reputation of being promiscuous and being everywhere,
Yes.
at every opportunity. So, and the thing is, people have been able to, like, even, especially when you're in the spotlight, again, when you're in the spotlight, it's possible for somebody to put them in that category without anything even going on. Like, you could be in a, like at an event or something, and then you're about to head to your room, and then somebody else follows you, and it's like, oh, what's going on over there?
Yeah.
And so, like, how would you say you can prevent certain things like that from occurring? Not occurring, but like staying out of the eye, out of at doing what you can do. I'll put it like that, to kind of like not deviate, but prevent things being seen in a certain way. I guess you put it like that.
Well, first off, I'll say this. This might sound like it's not cool, and like considering what we just mentioned, even like you have a point, but in a lot of things, it always takes two parties. To
Agreed.
be honest with you, as much as people know about whatever or whoever, if you are there, you're there. It takes two. But that being aside, the key to that is, a lot of people don't know how to follow their own spirit. And they feel like they might have to give in to, like, because we're musicians or because we're this or that, we should be doing this, or, I'm going to tell my boys, like, yeah, this happened, and, looking for approval, when, you can easily just be like, you know what, I'm good. I mean, again, it takes two. You're going to do what you're going to do. You're going to do what you're going to do. But a lot, to me, in my opinion, it has to do with being able to follow your own spirit, knowing when to say no. And, I'm just going to go and do this. And, but again, if somebody was to see someone coming towards your room, again, they can assume that could be something completely innocuous. It could be somebody coming to just drop off an item to you, but...
And next thing you know, you got camera shots and all in the tabloids and everything, like, such and such was...
like,
wait a minute.
But, just that, to me, is a thing. Just walk in yourself, follow your spirit, and just, like, I'm good.
And a lot of that, honestly, I would say that it has to do with being able to control yourself and loving yourself enough to know that I don't have to do this.
Right.
I don't have to be this person just because I get all the... I mean, it's great to have all the attention.
Right.
It's great to... Because people... Who doesn't like... Well, not everybody likes attention. But who doesn't like to have the approval of other people?
Of course, validation.
Especially when... especially y'all, men. Y'all love to have women give y'all compliments and things like that. And I say things like, what I say is, as far as like those who are in the spotlight and those who have gifts and talents that are put in the forefront, y'all have this magnet, I'll put it like that. Pretty much like Dirty Diana type of deal.
I got you, yeah.
From Michael Jackson. So I love, oh my God, I love that. But anyway.
I get you, totally.
So if the people don't necessarily pay attention to what Dirty Diana was about, Dirty Diana was about a groupie, in a nutshell. If you heard the song, because a lot of Michael Jackson's songs, we hear him, but we don't really hear what he's saying.
Right.
Go listen to the lyrics of Michael Jackson's song, or listen to, I don't believe it's his song. Is it his song?
I know it's his song, yeah.
It is his song.
Yeah.
Go listen to the lyrics of Dirty Diana. And then you'll be like, oh, okay, I didn't realize that's what he was talking about. He was talking about a groupie.
Yeah.
But anyway, when you have situations where you're not in tune with yourself and you feel like in order for you to feel your self-worth,
Right.
you have to have somebody else's attention. You have to let somebody else give you, you know what I'm saying? If I don't feel good, I don't feel like I'm important, I don't feel like, I'm worth anything
Yeah.
unless I have all of these women coming at me.
Right.
And when you are so secure in yourself, women too, I'll put it like that, women too, because we like attention too. No, we do. So, but when you put yourself in that situation where you feel like you have to get approval from somebody else in order for you to feel your self-worth, you're going to be end up being more susceptible to things such as that, to getting that type of attention, to craving that type of attention. So that comes in, spending time with yourself. That comes with doing your affirmations. That comes with learning who you are. And if necessary, get therapy. Get some help.
Absolutely.
Whatever it is that you need to do to find out, more about yourself, to find out how in the world you can love yourself if you're not already feeling that way.
Yes.
Because more often than not, you're feeling people are calling their names out, and people love them so much, and you see them smiling and everything, and you see how talented and gifted and everything that they are. But you end up not even knowing what they're going through behind closed doors, how much they can't stand themselves, how much they don't like the sight of looking at themselves, how much they feel, left alone and all of that. Because there's a thing where you can actually be in a crowd of people and just feel alone.
Totally.
So those who are in need to find more, to find yourself and to learn to love yourself more, if you don't take those steps to do that, you'll end up finding you don't have to necessarily be in the spotlight. It can be anywhere, anybody, any profession, whatever. You can not even have a job. And a lot of times that even, leads to jobs that you don't even want, doing things that you feel like you have to do just because you need, this is what you feel like what you need to do. You'll end up doing things that you don't even want to do.
Yeah.
And, being in people's company who you don't even want to be around, just to have somebody there.
Yep.
Has anybody ever experienced that? Oh my God.
Preach your word. Preach your word.
Not wanting to be in a situation, but you're there just because you want to have somebody there.
Yeah.
Especially like I said, when it comes to anything, but relationships especially, it's not healthy.
At all.
A person would rather just have a body there, you know what I'm saying, than to actually take the time to figure themselves out, and to take the time to figure out, why do I feel this way, get to the bottom of it, because there's a root in everything, and that it's necessary to find out exactly why do I feel this way, why is it that I feel like I have to have somebody around me all the time, and why can't I stand the thought of being by myself,
right? Right.
So that's necessary. It's really important to kind of like to learn to love you, and quite honestly, that's the journey that I'm on right now, learning to actually take the time to say, Roberta, I said it a little while ago, as a matter of fact. I looked at myself in my little selfie thing. I've been taking more selfies than usual, people. I'm serious. And I happened to look at myself like, girl, you look good. And I said, thank you, Roberta. It's necessary, though. It's a good thing to, wouldn't you agree?
No, of course not. Sometimes, listen, you have to love on yourself. Like
Absolutely.
You said, if you don't, you're going to wind up going out doing all these self-destructive things. It doesn't even have to be anything physical, but just mentally keep putting yourself in a certain place. And that's going to cause you to be, like you said, being places where you don't want to be, or being around people that you don't need to be around.
That's it. That's key, that you don't need to be around people who are no good for you. Okay, we're gonna not that alone. But so this is pretty much all. Do you have any last words for everybody who's listening?
I guess it's based off of today's topic. One, definitely make sure you learn to love yourself.
Absolutely,
that's paramount for anything before you even step out your house, because that enables you to just receive anything that's coming your way, love yourself, and just stay focused, and just always keep hope, because you never know whatever your endeavors are, Just stay the course, because it's always going to pay off, regardless of how long it might take. There's steps being made, steps that they're taking that are being made. You know, the way I like to look at it, I'll give an example. A couple years ago, I finally got my passport. I've been asked for years, you know, to go do tours with people or whatever, but I never had my passport. And it took a minute. I was just, you know, not BSing, but BSing, because I was still able to work, thank God, locally, blah, blah, blah. But I knew that there were greater things for me. So I started working towards, all right, you know, let me just buckle down and get this going. So when I finally stepped out the post office, completed the, you know, the registration, everything, got my passport out. God, it was like I was walking out the post office and God literally like stopped me. And he was like, you're going to sit for a year. You did what you need to do, but you're going to sit for a year. So basically, it's like, keep going, doing what you're doing, taking these little steps. It might seem like your goal is over there, but if you just keep going, you never know, he might even move it closer to you.
Wow,
And the fact that it'll get to you sooner
good.
than you think. But you just got to keep going. And sometimes before you know it, you're in where you need to be, around the people you need to be, because you decided to stay the course, you know, and that takes a lot of inner strength sometimes, and it's strength that everyone has. Some people think that they don't have it, you know, for one reason or another, be it their environment, the people that they're around, but you can do it, whatever it is.
Man, and that's good. And even in saying you know, just being stopped for a little bit, you never know. That could be preparation.
That's exactly.
That can be getting everything you prepared for what you're about to enter once you get into that arena. So that's major, and that's good. We're done. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us for Speaking Plain English. Until next time, y'all have a great afternoon.
All right.